Be sure to subscribe to WXOU Sports on YouTube. WXOU Sports is the place to be for all things sports from your favorite college radio station. WXOU Sports features live audio broadcasts of all Oakland University home games, including men's and women's basketball. They also feature interviews with athletes and coaches, with highlights and more. Just go to YouTube and search WXOU Sports and hit subscribe. Now, back to the show. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GioMoShow, your home for all Oakland University Golden Grizzlies sports. My name is Giovanni Mosheri. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the GioMoShow to get all of your Golden Grizzlies goodness as we're into the basketball season, now into the Horizon League, part of the basketball season, but not without news of swim and dive and track and field as well. So we got a whole lot of Golden Grizzlies action, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss a thing. You can also follow the GioMoShow on Instagram at the GioMo Show, and you can follow me on Twitter at GioMosheri, WXOU, and you can use the hashtag the GioMo Show to keep up to date with the show. So for this week, like I mentioned before, we're going to touch on track and field and swim and dive as they got a lot of news coming out of this past week, and then we'll get into the men's and women's basketball as they start their Horizon League seasons. We're finally at the games that undeniably matter when it comes to basketball, because before, in the non-conference season, you can make the case, you can make the excuse that, oh, well, these games don't matter, it's all about winning the conference championship. Well, now this season, this conference season is how you win that conference. So now all of these games from here on until March are crucial for the Golden Grizzlies. So we'll get things started with swim and dive, as there were two meets going on in this past week at the same time, one a little bit more exclusive than the other, that being the Toyota U.S. Open held in Greensboro, North Carolina, where four Golden Grizzlies were selected to compete, that being Jonas Cantrell, Carol Subaggio, Dane Charleston, and Christopher Palvedre. They competed over in North Carolina for the men's team. But meanwhile, for the rest of the Golden Grizzlies, they were competing in the Zippy Invite held at Akron, Ohio, home of the Zips, and thus the Zippy Invite. And we'll break down the results. We'll start with the Toyota U.S. Open. We don't have I'm not going to go through the entire meet and how everyone swam, but some of the highlights that the Golden Grizzlies released on social media was an 8th overall finish for Carol Subaggio in the 500 free, as well as Jonas Cantrell finishing 4th in that same 500 free. But Christopher Palvedre is the star of that Toyota U.S. Open for Oakland. He was 4th place in the 100-yard breaststroke, but he broke a school record and finished 6th overall in the 200-yard breaststroke, continuing to push the limits of breaststroke at Oakland University. We talked about him a couple of weeks ago, where Oakland swept the Horizon League weekly honors, and Christopher Palvedre was the men's Horizon League swimmer of the week in a couple of weeks ago, and he's continuing to push that for the Golden Grizzlies. And now moving to the Zippy Invite, a second-place finish was had for both the women's and the men's team, where Akron's women's team took first place and Cornell's men's team took first place as well. Some highlight finishes from that come from Jordyn Ships, as she has broken the 200-yard butterfly record with a first-place finish at the Zippy Invite, as well as the men's 400-yard freestyle relay. A meet record was broken between Nicholson, Schaefer, Wick, and Brown to get first place in that meet as well. And I want to circle back over to Jordyn Ships, because the Horizon League just pointed out and released to us that not only is she the league leader and new school record holder of the 200-yard butterfly, but she is also top of the Horizon League in the 50 fly, 100 fly, 200 IM, and the 100 free. In addition to that 200 fly, she's number one in all 5 of those events. And this whole swim season all adds up to the times that you have at the Horizon League Championship meet, and being at the top of the game, especially this early, shows a lot. And Jordyn Ships is one of the finest swimmers that Oakland has. I've had the pleasure of interviewing her twice, but only for the one interview because we had to re-record it way back when I was learning the remote interviews. But if you guys want to go all the way back in my GioMoShow interviews, it was before the 2023 season. We recorded that in August, where I got to talk to Jordyn Ships, and she's just an absolute delight to talk to. If you see any pictures of her, all of them include that bright smile of hers. So she's just awesome to talk about, and I always love to give her a shout out when we see the news from her on the show. So you guys can feel free to go and check that out. I also have interviews with head coach Mitch Alters of the Golden Grizzlies shortly after last year's Horizon League Championship meet, where it was his first year as the head coach, coming in from an assistant position, taking the head coach spot after Pete Hovland retired after over 45 years. So at that point, I got to talk to him. It was also shortly after the Olympics were starting, so I had great conversations with him. I got all those linked below. If you want more swim and dive, Ian Allen is also one of those interviews that I've had over this summer for swim and dive. I'll link that all, like I said, below if you guys want more swim goodness. So we'll shift over now to the land, where we go to track and field, specifically the indoor track. But before we get into the indoor track, I want to talk about cross country's Horizon League honors coming out. Those Horizon League season awards. Grace Nolan of the Golden Grizzlies won the Horizon League Sportsmanship Award for her cross-country season, so congratulations to Grace Nolan. But we'll get into indoor track as their season has began with many new school records right off the bat as they competed in the Saginaw Valley and Grand Valley Open, the SVSU Holiday Open, where the Golden Grizzlies broke 4 school records. Alex Mansfield set the all-time record in the shot put, and Romario Jackson pushing his own record for the weight throw, resetting it to start this indoor season. Tyler Donovan would race to finish in school history, the fastest time ever recorded in the 800-meter, and Kavina Finch would race the 200-meter and break the record there as well. As the Golden Grizzlies starting off strong in the indoor track season, we'll keep an eye on them throughout the season. Coming up next, I believe their next meet will be in Vanderbilt, but that won't be all the way until midway through January, so still quite a bit of time left before that, but we'll keep tabs as news comes out for track and field. And before we get into men's and women's basketball, we're going to take a break here on the GioMoShow before we go to the hardwood, the blacktop, and then elsewhere for this opening week of Horizon League play. A bit of ups and a bit of downs as well. We'll talk about it on the GioMoShow. Hopping in after recording the first part of the show, we got breaking news from the Golden Grizzlies. Jeff Tungate, head coach of the Golden Grizzlies women's basketball team after 12 seasons, will retire effective immediately. This is unfortunately due to the result of his medical condition. His back surgeries have left him now unable to fulfill the responsibilities of the coaching. It'll be Deanna Richard that will be the interim head coach, as Oakland will start to conduct a nationwide search for their next head coach of their women's basketball program. Looking at Twitter, Jeff Tungate released this statement that I'll read to you here. As many of you know, I have had multiple back surgeries during the last several years. Unfortunately, my medical condition has gotten to the point where I can no longer fulfill my duties as the head coach of the Oakland University women's basketball team. As painful as my medical condition has been, the decision to retire from coaching was even more painful to make. I wish the players continued success this season, and I am grateful for the support of my coaching staff. The team is in great hands. It has been the honor of a lifetime being at Oakland for 19 years and serving as head women's basketball coach for the past 12. To all of my former and current players, staff, and coworkers, thank you. I especially want to thank Coach Campy for bringing me to Oakland and always being there for me. Now, I've tried a few times getting a statement for this one, but I'll just keep it short. Jeff Tungate is an amazing person, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done in working with me and with WXOU. He's been nothing but kind and welcoming and encouraging of us covering their team. So I can't thank Coach enough for work for the opportunity to work with him. I got to interview him earlier this summer. He's the greatest dude, man. And it's such a shame, and we wish him nothing but the best. It's such a shame to see his tenure end in this way. We wish him a great recovery. We wish him a great life post-retirement. He's not dead, but it just sometimes when we always, when there's a retirement like this, we kind of have the tendency to act like the person died. That's not true. So I want to say it in this way. Whatever coach does post-retiring from Oakland, we wish him nothing but the best and support him as much as we can. So we'll get back to the show in a moment. I just wanted to make sure that this got out because this was announced today, Monday, December 9th, that head coach Jeff Tungate will retire effective immediately. Deanna Richard in the interim head coaching duties, and Oakland will be looking across the country to fill the spot for next season. Now, back to the GioMoShow with a bit of a lighter vibe and positive attitude. And we're back here on the GioMoShow. Let's get into women's basketball, as their only Horizon League game of this week would be at home against Wright State. One of two Oakland games played at home against Wright State over this week. The men also opened their season with Wright State. We'll get to that in a little bit. But as for the women's side, Oakland would take home a Horizon League win with a dominant 84-70 win over the Raiders. Starting to set the stage here for you guys. Wright State was picked 6th place in the league. I believe the men's team was also picked 6th in the league, or rather 5th. The men's team was picked 5th. So both teams would start in about the middle of the pack as far as the preseason poll goes. But Wright State was coming off of a recent loss to the Findlay Oilers out of the Great Midwest. It's the GMAC. It's the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. That's Division II school for the Findlay Oilers. The Oilers would play pretty high up to the level, but Wright State had chances to win that game late and ended up losing it on their home court. So they're coming in now to the Horizon League season on a bit of a downswing, and that downswing would continue to go as Oakland would have their way. Getting into the game flow, it would start off close with Oakland going up 18-15 after the first quarter, and it would stay within about 3 points throughout the rest of that second quarter. But Oakland would start to pull away, ending the half up by 15. So growing their lead from 3 after the first quarter, they go up by 15 in the second, going into the tunnels up 39-24. And in that second quarter specifically, they held Wright State to 13% from the field and 0% from 3. There were 2 of 15 from the field and 0 of 6 from 3 in that second quarter, allowing Oakland to build an insurmountable lead. Wright State would end up cutting the lead down to 7 with 2 minutes left in the third quarter, but the lead would rebound to 11 by the time that quarter ended, and then Oakland would ride that lead all the way through the fourth for a strong starting Horizon League win over the Wright State Raiders. And due to that, I was checking out the Horizon Round Table. Their power rankings come out each week for both the men's and women's side, and Wright State dropping all the way down to 10th place in the Horizon League, with that game in mind. And Oakland, meanwhile, jumping up to, I believe, 3rd place that's the men's team. Excuse me. I believe either way, they jumped up as a result of this win. Forgive my memory here, but either way, great win for Oakland against Wright State. Getting into the highlights of the box score, I want to point out Serenity Roberts-Adams, a freshman on the team here, played 17 minutes, has been getting a lot of starts so far this season. I don't know if she started every game, but she's definitely in that mix for the starting lineup at the center position. 4 of 5 from the floor with 6 rebounds. 6 rebounds would lead the team for a total of 8 points. And getting into the top scorer, Maddie Skorupski, despite a rough shooting day, she was able to be perfect from the free throw line, making all 6 of her free throws, along with 7 of 20 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. But even despite those numbers, was able to get to 21 points, leading the Golden Grizzlies, along with 5 rebounds and 8 assists in that game. Macy Smith would make 3 of 5 of her three-pointers and a total of 4 of 8 from the floor to give her 16 points. And in third place in scoring for Oakland is Liana Baxter with 14, was 5 of 8 from the floor and 2 of 3 from deep, as a three-point shot is definitely a part of her game, not one that I was expecting for her to play the taller position on this team, but she's been pretty efficient from the three this season to get her that 14 points along with 5 rebounds and an assist. And overall, Oakland would be 48% from the floor and 41% from three, going 29 of 60 and 7 of 17, respectively. And thus, that puts Oakland at a 3-6 overall record and a 1-0 conference record. They won't be playing at home until 2025. Until then, they'll be on the road at Robert Morris Wednesday the 18th, and then at Indiana University on December 22nd, and at Northern Kentucky December 29th. They don't return home until January 3rd. Friday, will they'll host Cleveland State, and then that following Sunday, the 5th, will host Purdue Fort Wayne. And we'll keep up on the women's team throughout the season, so be sure to subscribe to the GioMoShow so that you don't miss a thing for the Golden Grizzlies. And now let's get into men's basketball, and we're going to continue riding the good news of defeating Wright State, as the men had similar fortune, able to defeat Wright State in a very close 66-64 win over the Raiders in final second action. And we'll break it down for you guys here. So to kind of set the stage for you guys here, I want to try and do a better job of painting the picture for these games, because if I just say Oakland wins against Wright State or Robert Morris, and maybe for some of you guys just getting into the Horizon League, it doesn't make a good story if you don't know who the villain is, to kind of put it in a story perspective. You got to know the antagonist to kind of feel the full weight of the story. So I want to try and set the stage for you guys here for the men's game against Wright State. So all week long, both Campy and Smitty, who I talked to on our game reviews after their Toledo game, but they were all saying how Wright State is most likely, at that time, before the Horizon League season started, the top team in the league. Their win against Princeton is the best win that the Horizon League has, along with having a first-team predicted player of the year in Brandon Knoll, along with second-team and three-point shooting threat in Alex Hubricks. This is a very great offensive team. Wright State has always, in recent years, been a very powerful offensive team, and even without their head coach Scott Nagy, with the assistant coach of Clint Sargent being upgraded to that head coaching position, it's been business as usual for Wright State so far this season. And Campy was also emphasizing that getting a win against Wright State would not only be a win for Oakland, but important for the standings later on in the season. It'll be a loss for Wright State as well, starting to get some tiebreakers and advantages over a team that'll most likely be at the top by the time the season's over. But so that's aside for Wright State. For Oakland, if you guys remember, Oakland coming off of a straight up dominant win at Toledo that kind of woke up their offense to kind of show that the 3-point shooters that we have are able to do the job of 3-point shooting, as they would have I believe a 30-plus point win against Toledo. So all that brings us to the blacktop on December 5th, that Thursday night. Oakland would start strong with tons of blocked shots and back-to-back three-pointers from Jason Woodrich, along with Mukeba doing his thing on offense and defense. Cooper Craggs even got involved with a three-pointer himself, as Oakland jumped out to an 11-2 lead at the first media timeout and would hold about a 10-point lead for the first 10 minutes of play. So Oakland with a big, dominant start in the first quarter of the game. But Wright State would start to close the gap and gain a lead with a 13-0 run by the time 8 minutes were left in the half. And it would continue to be a close game until halftime. And then with the game tied just before halftime, and Jalen Jones kicks it to the corner. It's the final possession of the half, tied up. Baru gets the ball in the corner for three, and he makes the three to get Oakland the lead just before going into the tunnel, as it's a three-pointer we don't really see from Baru ever. And yet he makes one to close out the half. You guys got to see the replay of it if you can find it. It's awesome. And his talk about it in the post-game press conference was hilarious as well. But in the second half, Oakland would slowly start to regain a multiple possession lead, but Wright State would then later tie it with 13 minutes left in the game with another big run, this time a 9-0 run to keep things close. Oakland is not able to run away with this as Wright State keeps coming back. And it would be a close game once again all the way until the end. And I'll break down the final about minute and a half for you guys because it was just exhilarating being able to watch it and watch the replay of it. So the game is tied with 1:25 seconds left, 64-64. Mukeba gets Oakland the lead with about a minute left with a layup to get it to 66-64. But he would commit an offensive foul on a screen in that next possession for Oakland, and that gives Wright State the ball back with 48 seconds left within 2 points, and they have a chance to take the lead. A 3-point was missed by Hubricks, and Jalen Jones was able to get the rebound and give it to his brother Isaiah Jones, who is now back from injury, but Isaiah Jones would be fouled with 15 seconds left. Wright State's trying to stop the clock, and they're trying to get another possession back. And with 15 seconds left, Oakland up by 2. The free throws could seal the game. He misses both. The game is still 66-64, this time with 15 seconds left, and Wright State would now have a second chance to gain the lead before the game's over. But in that final possession, Baru would hold strong defense, and Jalen Jones would end up knocking a pass away, and the Raiders never get a shot off. They never put the ball up to be able to try and either tie or gain the lead, and Oakland would win it, freezing that score at 66-64 in that final 90 seconds. And Oakland would end the whole game holding Wright State to a 3-minute scoring drought against one of the most powerful offenses in the Horizon League. It was just a great performance, a great finish for Oakland to get them a 1-0 start in league play against one of the top teams. Takeaways from this game: Oakland took away that player of the year predicted to be player in Brandon Knoll. Oakland was able to hold him to 2 of 11 from the field against a player, by the way, last year, Brandon Noel, along with some of his other teammates, were the highest percentage field goal shooters in the league. Obviously, it's all up close, but their field goal percentage was up in the 60s by the time last season ended, and to hold him to 2 of 11 from the field was a great defensive effort from Oakland. His only 2 field goals were actually 3-pointers, of which he was 2 of 5, so that one was a bit surprising, but holding him to 6 points was massive. Another takeaway is that Baru and Mukeba are solidifying themselves as a major threat in this league as a 2 big man combo, as they're really able to do it all, and their stat lines are very similar by the time the game ends, or they combine for 30-some points and over 10 rebounds, as those guys are legit. And, in that kind of big man conversation in the Horizon League, and especially just the ability to kind of either split time or have them both on the floor at the same time is a very powerful weapon. Another takeaway is Wright State can still shoot the 3. Despite how the game ended and not being able to get a shot off at the end of it, Wright State's a really good 3-point shooting team still, as they were 16 of 31 from deep in this game. So that one was huge. And for Oakland, another takeaway, only 7 turnovers committed in this game, where they only had 5 against Toledo. So they're able to kind of keep that up and reduce the turnovers. And in my notes, I also have Baru and Allen once again as a second point. I'm just very impressed from what I'm seeing from them so far this season. So that's all well and good. And we're very happy. We're undefeated in league play, but we got a 1-day turnaround and a trip to Youngstown State. This is where we kind of come down from the roller coaster here. I'll set the stage for you guys here. I'll just kind of give you guys a score right away. Oakland will lose this one 50-66 against the Penguins in their house. Setting the stage for this one, Oakland swept the Penguins last year after being swept themselves the year before. So the past 2 years, they have taken turns sweeping themselves in the regular season. And as for Youngstown State, still a very good team, also under a new coach, a former assistant who's keeping things rolling. Instead of Jared Calhoun, is Ethan Faulkner taking the role for Youngstown State. And that a couple of years ago, Youngstown State was the regular season champion of the Horizon League. So last year it was Oakland, but the year before it was Youngstown State. And they still have a few of those pieces left from that team and are still a force to be reckoned with in the Horizon League, despite the preseason poll putting them at 6th place. And when you look at how the men's Horizon League teams are, it's loaded. It's straight up loaded, just like last year where you had 1 through 8 within a few games of each other by the end of the regular season. And this year is looking to be that same, powerful league where you have at least the top 6 teams being very strong contenders. So all of that setting up the game that we have on Saturday in Youngstown, Ohio. And I'll keep the game flow part of this short, where Oakland would start things off with a 6-point lead in the early minutes, and they would keep the lead, pretty much keep the lead until it was tied at 17 with 6.5 left to go. But once Youngstown State got that lead, they never looked back. As a dunk by 7'3" Gabe Dines would make it a 9-point lead for Youngstown State going into halftime. Oakland was just not able to have any offense to be able to cut into that lead, as Youngstown State would cruise to a double-digit lead by the time the clock hit 0. 50-66. It was tough to watch, folks, and just when we thought that the offense was starting to wake up for Oakland, that the inside game of Baru and Mukeba would be accompanied by 3-point shooting from historically good 3-point shooters, just when we thought everything was going to start coming together, it didn't. It went right back to what we've been seeing in the Horizon League before, where we're just really bad from 3. Historically bad from 3. What we were in this game against the Penguins, we were 2 of 16. That is 12.5%. That's 1/8. That's an easy, clean division. 12.5% from 3 again. And in the Wright State game, I actually don't have the box score up for the Wright State game, but either way, we shot better than that. And then 2 days later, just poof, gone. And it's something that Campy's, you could tell when Campy in the Grizz Visions and post-game press conferences, he's really scratching his head. And for all of us, we're kind of scratching our heads as to why this offense isn't working. The defense is very strong. The defense is holding great teams. If you look at the non-conference, compared their game to Oakland to their season scoring average, Oakland's defense reduces it more often than not. Most times, the teams that play Oakland score less than their average. That's just what the numbers say. But the offense just cannot keep up with it. The 3-point shooting is just not there. Jason Woodrich was 0 of 5 and was 0 of 6 from the field. Isaiah Jones was taking 3-pointers. I want to say taking 3-pointers for some reason, with a little smarm. But I know he's coming off of a foot injury, and maybe it's, taking threes as a way to kind of make it a little easier on himself. He only played 2 minutes and was in the starting lineup, but took 3-point attempts, didn't make any of them. Also looking, Malcolm Christie was 0 of 2. DQ and Craggs were the only ones to make threes. Craggs was 1 of 1 for 3, and DQ was 1 of 3, but it's just not happening. It's so strange because I remember talking to Griffin Beers in one of our game reviews, and it's usually the defense that takes time to develop because of the complex nature of Campy's zone. The defense is the one that takes a while to develop, but for whatever reason, it's the offense that just can't catch up to the strong defense. It's strange. And it's something that Campy is scratching his head at, and the Grizz Vision was saying that he's got to make changes and he's got to make decisions because this cannot continue now that the league play has started. Now, luckily, we're 1 of 1 or 1 for 1 in Horizon League play. Youngstown State one of the two teams that are undefeated in that opening weekend, but there's still a lot of season left, but this has to be figured out in the few days that they have off before they go and play Michigan State. And how many days they got off? They have about 10 days in between those two games, so we're going to have to see some improvement at least once the Horizon League season restarts, because I'm not sure how it's going to be looking against Michigan State, against Loyola Chicago. I mean, the next chance in Horizon League play is Thursday the 19th against Cleveland State at Cleveland State, another team that has a strong defense but is struggling offensively. You know, it's tough, and it was hard to watch on Saturday. I'm not going to lie. A lot of the talk for Oakland fans is a similar feeling. So they're going to have to fix it. And their next chance to do so, I'll get to the official upcoming games part of it now or in a second. But they're going to have to figure it out. 3-5 overall, 1-1 in conference. And coming up for them, December 17th at Little Caesars Arena, they'll be playing their yearly bout against Tom Izzo in the Michigan State Spartans. That one is going to be live on ESPN2 for all the nation to see, but where it's also broadcasted for free is on WXOU. I will be the play-by-play for WXOU's call of Oakland versus Michigan State in Little Caesars Arena. So I really hope that you guys go and subscribe to WXOU Sports. You could hear it live on YouTube. You could go to the TuneIn Radio app, find WXOU, and hear it in crystal clear fashion. So you guys can kind of see what I'm about when it comes to play-by-play. It's been a little while since I've called Oakland basketball, but I've got plenty of experience under my belt for it, and I'm just so excited, so happy that they're having me back for this game as an alumni. I was there for the past two games at the Breslin Center as a supporting role for social media, but this time they're letting me actually call the game. So I'm very happy about it, very excited for it. That is December 17th at 7 p.m. It's Tuesday, right after the semester ends. So I hope you guys are going to be able to tune in. Following that, 2 days later, December 19th, a Thursday, they'll be at Cleveland State. And then the Hawaii Airlines Diamond Head Classic will be played in Hawaii December 22nd, 23rd, and 25th. Their first match will be up against powerhouse Loyola Chicago. So that one's going to be difficult, no doubt. That game will be on ESPN2 Sunday, December 22nd at 5 p.m. Their next game will be Monday the 23rd and Christmas Day, Wednesday the 25th. Christmas is on a Wednesday? Looking at my actual calendar on my wall. Christmas is on a Wednesday. That blows. But either way, that is the upcoming schedule, and that's what Oakland's got ahead of them to try and fix this offense. I'd imagine a lot of those 10 days are going to be focused just on the offense. So we'll see if we have any relative improvement at least before the next semester. We'll have to see. And unfortunately that we have to end it on a low note, but that's the end of the GioMoShow. We appreciate you guys sticking around. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for all your Oakland Golden Grizzlies coverage all season long. We'll see if swim and dive can continue their dominance of the Horizon League. We'll see if indoor track will break any more school records. We'll see if women's basketball can keep up their streak in the Horizon League regular season, and we'll see if Oakland can pick it up on offense. We'll all have it next week on the GioMoShow.